A diorama is a 3D scene that offers a glimpse of another place or time. It is believed to have been invented by a French theatrical designer in 1822. Despite modern digital technology, the diorama continues to be a great way to create an illusion. This is an art exhibit created by one diorama artist. This particular series depicts an apocalyptic scenario. The images are powerful and authentic. It all starts with some background research. The artist and assistant decide on a Chinese takeout restaurant scene and take pictures for reference. Back in the studio, the artist checks the scale of components to be featured in the diorama scene, like a fox. To make the scene look real, the size of the fox must be in proportion to everything else. She decides that it will work. But the toy scooter is too small, so she produces a template that's to scale. Her assistant then pencils an outline of the template onto a piece of rigid foam to make a version of the scooter that's the correct size. She carves out the shape using a hot wire. It melts the foam for a cleaner cut than could be achieved with a knife. The piece of foam now has scooter-like curves, but it's far too chunky. She whittles it down using a utility knife. She sands the foam to refine the carving. A paint job and a set of wheels complete the transformation. Next, she copies newspaper pages and shrinks them down to the correct scale. She cuts the borders and gathers them in a pile. She brushes thinned latex paint on the pages. This gives them the yellowed appearance of old newspapers. She crumples and uncrumples the pages for an effect that also makes them look old. She cuts out images of many Chinese food takeout cartons. They've been printed onto paperboard and include crease lines for folding. Folding a carton is a kind of origami, the Japanese art of folding, and it's a bit more challenging on such a miniature scale, but practice makes perfect. She applies glue to the folded flaps and presses them together. Clamps hold the seams in place until the glue dries. To create a post-apocalyptic atmosphere, they'll scatter leaves throughout the diorama. The assistant now selects leaves that have been pressed for about a week and can still be handled without breaking. She punches out mini leaf shapes with a handy crafting tool and accumulates piles in various colors. Because it's punched from actual leaves, the miniature foliage looks very authentic. Next, she works a lump of polymer clay until it's soft and narrow. She inserts the clay into an extruder and presses it through perforations at the end. This creates strands of clay that look like tiny lo mein noodles. She arranges the clay on a tiny paper plate. She then brushes brown paint onto the noodles to imitate sauce. She rolls green clay into long strands and chops it up to mimic the look of green onions. These small touches make a difference. The creation of the diorama continues after this break. A diorama is an art form that is all about thinking inside the box. An artist builds a 3D scene within a boxy structure. It has one side open for viewing. The scene can be true to life or inspired by a place or event. And sometimes a diorama can change the way we look at the world. The clay mini meals are now complete, and the artist uses them to create a fake menu sign. She snaps pictures of each of the Chinese food selections. The choices include sesame chicken, fried and steamed dumplings, and a New York favorite, chicken wings with fries. Printed onto translucent plastic, the clay imitations look quite mouth-watering. She brushes thin white paint onto the photographs to create a cloudy residue. And adds streaks of thin brown paint to the menu sign to mimic dust particles. Now she builds the diorama walls using foam sheets. She glues mirrored plastic panels to one wall. The reflections will make this diorama seem more spacious. She hot glues a sign to the mirror. It outlines the correct procedure in a choking emergency. She tapes the corners with little strips of masking tape. She then rubs ground up volcanic ash onto the mirror. The ash clings to the surface and emulates grease buildup. It will also make the mirror's reflections hazy. After careful measuring, she cuts out a door from polystyrene and spray paints it silver. She assembles the door to the back wall, but first installs lighting above the doorway and tests it. With the lights installed, she glues the translucent menu sign to the framework. Switched on, these backlights illuminate the menu choices. The artist and her assistant attached the walls of the diorama to a tile-patterned foam floor. They taped the walls together from the back. They scatter grass and dirt throughout the scene. This represents nature taking over after an apocalypse. An overturned trash can and yellowed newspapers on the floor imply the sudden departure of humans. They decide the scene needs more grass and dirt, so they distribute more across the floor. They now place the motorbike into the scene. Empty takeout containers and a plastic fox in the open doorway add to the illusion of an urban landscape returning to nature. They add the third wall and the ceiling with its fluorescent lighting. The scene has been set, and now the artist focuses an 8x10 film camera on it. This large format camera will produce a high-resolution image. She adjusts the lighting, and when satisfied, takes 3 shots. This is a carefully crafted scene viewed through the camera's eye. The team has even built and shot a diorama of their studio. Ordinary spaces become extraordinary when recreated in a diorama and photographed. Mini scenes, when printed large, appear true to life.